In this video, you're going to learn about the conditional operator. The conditional operator, also referred to as the ternary operator, is a great little tool. I find myself using this one all the time. The conditional operator, as the name suggests, allows us to add a bit of conditional logic into our code without having to use the if statement. It is not a complete replacement for the if statement. Almost all of our if statements are going to stay as they are, but it is a nice little shorthand for some specific cases. So what we're going to do is explore the ternary operator in the advanced folder, then we'll integrate it into our apps, although there are only a couple of places where we're actually going to use it. Up above, let's go ahead and create a new file in advanced conditional operator.js. And in here, we're going to start with an example. Let's say that we know someone's age. Based off of their age and the voting age for your country, we're going to determine if they can vote or not. And we'll print one of two messages depending on whether or not they can vote. Now right here, we might start with a const my age or user age. And then we might have let message, which we define later. And then down below, I might console.log the message. Now to actually determine what value should be stored in message, using what we already know, we would have to use an if statement. I would say something like if the my age variable is greater than or equal to 18. I want to do one thing, and that thing is to set message equal to, that is message with two S's, a message something along the lines of you can vote. Now I also want to add on an else clause. So if someone is not greater than or equal to 18, we're going to set message equal to something like you cannot vote. So this is the code we would have to write to get this done based off of what we already know. Now I can prove it works by saving it and running it in the terminal node conditional operator.js. Right here, what do I get? I get you can vote printing because my age is indeed greater than 18. Now we're going to go ahead and use the conditional operator to actually remove 5 lines from this program. We're going to be removing all 5 of these so we can comment them out. And up above, let's really think about what we have here. We have a condition. We have value 1 for message, and we have value 2 for message. So in this case, we have a condition, and we're flipping between one of two things. If the condition is true, we have thing 1. If the condition is false, we have thing 2. This is when we want to use the conditional operator, when we have some sort of condition, and we have one of two things. So let's go ahead and add the exact same functionality into the program, but using the conditional operator. So I'm still going to assign message a value. I'm going to set it equal to, and the first thing we put inside of here is our condition. The condition is still checking if my age is greater than or equal to 18. Now at this point, message is going to be a Boolean. Now we don't want it to be a Boolean, we want it to be a string. So to continue on, we're actually going to set up the conditional operator. After our condition, we add the question mark. After the question mark, we provide the value for when that condition passes, when it's true. In this case, when the condition passes, we were using the string, you can vote. So right here, the string, you can vote. Perfect. Now, after the first value for when the condition passes, we still want to provide the second value for when the condition fails. We do that by setting up a colon, and then we set up that value. In this case, it's also a string, you cannot vote. And there we have it. We now have a replacement, those 5 lines getting replaced with a single conditional operator. We start off with our condition. After the question mark, we add the value for when that condition passes. After the colon, we add the value for when that condition fails. Let's go ahead and actually run the file to see what happens. I'm going to save things. Over here, I'm going to rerun the script, and we get you can vote. If I were to reduce the age to something like 7 and rerun the script again, we get you cannot vote. So clearly our program is still working with just this single line. Now we can actually take things a step further. We can take this conditional operator, cut it out from here, and just paste it up above, setting message equal to it directly. There's no need to create the variable and then assign it a value anymore. We did need that in the past with the if statement. Now that we can remove that, we can even swap this out for a const message. And there we have it. We have a much more concise way to get the job done. We were able to do all of this with 3 lines as opposed to all of the lines down below. I love the conditional operator. It comes up more often than you'd think, and it's a handy little tool to have in your JavaScript tool belt. And now let's explore a second example. I'm going to remove the commented out if statement, and then I'm going to comment out all 3 lines for this first example. And we're going to create an example that revolves not around the voting age, but let's use something else like the drinking age. So I'll start off with const my age, setting it equal to your actual age. Then what we're going to do is figure out how we can run one of 2 functions depending on that variable's value. So the first thing we need to do is create these 2 functions. We're going to create 2 simple functions right here. Const show page equals a function. Let's use an arrow function here. And all we're going to do is print a message showing the page. And then we're going to have another function, const show error page, for folks who are not of the legal drinking age and cannot access our website. And we'll set that equal to another function, console.log, showing the error page. So we have these 2 functions in place, and we can imagine that if we actually filled them out, we would have way more than just a single line. Now, down below, we want to call the correct function. So we're actually going to start off with the ternary operator right away by providing the condition. So in this case, checking if my age is greater than or equal to 21. Now, we already know the basic syntax. We have our condition. We have our question mark. Here, we had put the value to use if the condition was true. In this case, what we're going to do is just call the function. So right here, that would be a call to show page, just like this. We could pass in arguments if we needed them. In this case, we don't. After that first call, we're going to set up our colon, and this is where we provide the thing to do if my age is indeed less than 21. In this case, we are going to show the error page. So in this example, we are using the conditional operator to run one of 2 functions. Let's make sure it works. I'm going to save the file. Over here, I'm going to rerun the script, and I am getting showing the page, which is great for that age. What if I happen to be 20 though? I'll save the file and rerun things again. And this time around, I am getting showing the error page correctly. So we can use the conditional operator in a few different situations, making it a very handy and versatile tool. We could even do something with the return value if we wanted to. Let's say that instead of printing the message, these 2 functions just return the message. So I just return some sort of string, at least for the moment. And I'll do the exact same thing down below. Now, where does that return value end up? Well, right now it's nowhere, but we could store it on some sort of variable to print it. Const the message, for example. Then I could go ahead and console.log the message. So we have the exact same functionality as before, but in this case, we are using the return value from the function as opposed to just letting the function run. So in some cases, you might just need this piece of the puzzle. In other cases, you might actually want the return value. And if we run things with the new setup in place, we are still getting the message printing, which is great. And now let's go ahead and move through a couple of challenges. We're going to do one in this file, a little standalone challenge, and then we'll be integrating the conditional operator into our application code. So down below, here's what I'd like you to do. Let's say we're making a video game, and in this game we have teams. So I could store the team in an array, const team, and we're just going to represent each team member as a string for their first name. So I might have Tyler. Let's go ahead and say I also have Porter, just 2 teammates. Now what I want to do is print a little status message. This message is going to be one of 2 things. Right here, you are going to print team size colon with the actual team size. If the team size is less than or equal to 4, you're going to print too many people on your team otherwise. So we're going to allow you to operate in teams of 1, 2, 3, or 4, but greater than 4, and we have a problem. So it's going to be your job to perform a little conditional logic, checking the size of this array. Then you're going to print the correct message. Take some time to knock that out and then test your work. Add in a few more teammates till you get over 4 and make sure things fail. All right, pause the video. When you're done, come back and click play. All right, let's go ahead and knock this one out. Right here, I am going to start by setting up that ternary operator. Now, there are a couple of different ways you could have approached this. You could have created a variable and then set the correct value, printing it afterwards, or you could have used the ternary operator directly inside of console.log. So for example, I could just set up console.log. What am I passing in? I'm passing in one of two strings. I'll check team.length. I'm going to check if it's less than or equal to 4. If it is, we're going to print one string right here. If it's not, we're going to print another. Now, the string for when you have a team that's too big is static, so I can use a regular set of quotes. Too many people on your team. The other string over here, this one is dynamic, so I'm using a template string, team size, :space. Then I am going to interpolate team.length. Perfect. And there we go. This is one way you could have approached the problem. You could have also put the two console.log calls in these parts. So let's go ahead and see what that might look like as well. Let's first run this. Over here, I'm going to run the file. I'm getting team size 2, which is great. Let's add a couple more players into the mix. I'll add myself in. I'll also add in Ben, and I'll add in Mike. Now we have 5 people, so I should get that error. If I rerun the program, I do. Too many people on your team. So real quickly, the other approach I was talking about, you might have gone down this route, team length less than or equal to 4. If so, you can call console.log directly right here. Otherwise, you can call console.log with the other string. Both approaches are perfectly valid. There are about 3 different great ways you could have solved this one. So that is it for this first little challenge. Now what I want you to do is actually integrate it into the application. There's really only one spot where we can actually use the conditional operator. This is inside of the to-do functions file, and we have a very similar thing inside of the notes app in the notes functions file. Right here, we have an if statement with an else clause. In this case, we are returning one of 2 values. What I want you to do is return, using the ternary operator, the correct thing. So you're going to replace the highlighted code with a single return statement that uses the ternary operator. Take some time to knock that out for both of those files, then test your work. Make sure that when you view both apps, you do still get the saved data showing up. All right, pause the video, knock this out, and when you're done, click play. How'd you do? I'm going to kick things off by adding a return statement right up here. I'll remove the if statement in a second. I am going to return, and everything's going to stay the same. We're going to have the same condition. We're checking if notes.json is not equal to null. If it's not, after the question mark, we are just going to parse it. JSON.parse, parsing the notes.json data. Now, if that condition fails, we're going to add the colon, and after that, we're just going to return the empty array. So we either return what comes back from json.parse, or we return the empty array. That is exactly what we have right here. So we can remove those lines, replacing it with just this one. And we're going to do the exact same thing over in the to-dos file as well. So right here, same condition, returning to-dos JSON. Is that not equal to null? If so, parse it, json.parse, passing in the data, that is the to-dos JSON data. After the colon, what do we do if the condition fails? All we do is we return the empty array. So there we have it. We've set that up for both of those files. Now we can save all the files and test our work. The to-dos file is still showing up the data, so that's great. And the notes file is also showing the saved data, so both are indeed working. And there we have it. We now have the ternary operator in the mix. It's something we're going to use going forward. There's no other situation in either of these programs where we can actually take advantage of it. That is it for this one. We're going to continue on in the next one.